Hey guys, Frizzy Brony here. We're back, new week, new episode, and yeah, we're still on the mediocre bunch. This one really was a slog to get through, and it wasn't a bad episode, it's just a wholly unnecessary episode that could have been really good, and just, it let itself down on so many occasions. We're on episode 19, and it's a Trivial Pursuit. Which, I keep joking, just up out of the corner here, I have the boxed game of Trivial Pursuit, and I've never had it devolve into such anarchy as that episode was. But we should always start from the beginning, so let's take it back. We go to the Castle of Friendship, and we see Spike in a very fetching nightgown and little cap ensemble, trying his best to find the way to reason with Twilight, as apparently a big competition is coming up. And through his expository prep talk, we find out that Twilight is hitting the books pretty hard because of a giant Ponyville Trivial Pursuit competition. Although for legal reasons, I don't think they can call it Trivial Pursuit.
I thought I'd have to force you to go to bed since tomorrow is your chance to be the first pony to win Ponyville Trivia 3 times in a row.
Actually, who did make... Okay, Parker Brothers. I'm not sure if they're actually to do with Hasbro or not. One Abbott, trademark... Okay, fair enough. It's not a Hasbro game, so technically they can't use the title. So fair enough, that's why they changed it. So we see that Twilight is getting a little bit too obsessed by it. In fact, even though she makes the good point that you need 8 hours of sleep to be well rested, she seems to be going off the deep end, wanting to just keep dinging that little bell.
She has a vinyl scratch pajama set. That's kind of cute, but kind of weird.
Twilighting, isn't it?
The
answer is yes. Are you okay? The answer is yes.
Oh no!
Good night, Twilight.
We also find out that the reason why she is so hell-bent on prepping for this is because she is the most potential candidate to win 3 times in a row, which for Twilight doesn't actually seem that prestigious. You'd think that she's just trying to uphold the title each time. But apparently this is just the 3rd year in a row, so it means before this 2 has been the most. And she goes a little bit overboard, naturally Twilighting with the prep work. We see that the following day she is there with reams and reams of paperwork based on her opponents.
And these, I've charted every potential teammate's strengths and weaknesses.
Okay, so there's
plus my
more.
percentage of winning with each one.
Oh jeez.
I knew there'd be a chart. But I'm just watching. I don't think I could handle being your teammate.
So we get a little rundown of all the potential candidates. They make it to the venue. We go inside. We see that Granny Smith is going to be the judging panel and the host for the event. And we see that Rainbow Dash and Cheerilee, Bulk Biceps, Fluttershy, all of them turn up to take part. And they really seem to get in the competitive spirit. And the way the teams are picked is actually kind of a fair way. I like it that it's not really clicky. It's a case of you just put your name or your cutie mark into a bowl, and then it randomly does get selected out. However, one pony turns up that Twilight was not expecting.
Sure sounded like a joke to me. Pinkie Pie, present!
It seems Pinkie Pie has never taken part, but for some reason this year she's turned up and she wants to take part, throwing all of Twilight's research and analytics out the window. There is a rogue element, and unfortunately Spike is the one who has to bear the brunt of her burden.
What's wrong?
And now Twilight's gonna be paired with Pinkie.
Pinkie Pie is a potential player. She's never played before. My chart is completely off. I have no way to predict
Well,
what will
this
happen.
episode's just
Unpredictable
become
impact.
completely
Unfortunate
predictable, so...
repeat.
And as you can imagine, things progress the way you know they're going to go now that this rogue element is there. All of the teams get picked, a ship name gets dropped, and a ship name is created. At least, to my knowledge, it is.
Twilight and Pinkie Pie forever! Ooh, we can be Team Twinkie or Team Pink like
Twinkie Pie.
Twi Pie!
Okay, Twi Pie. Yeah.
I'm glad you're excited.
Nah, Twinkie Pie is my one.
Tonight's game is special.
Now, I'm not gonna lie, the whole idea of basing an episode on a quiz is actually a very good idea, because a lot of the questions in the early segment do harken back to the previous seasons of the show. And so even for people watching, it's nice to hear it, and then you yourself think back, it's like, actually, what was the answer? And so that was a nice little element, a nice callback. And the fact that we see Cranky still with the Stephen Magnet moustache hairpiece is also adorable as a callback to, I want to say season 1 or season 2. But that's how far back it goes, so it's wonderful to see that kind of thing. And the questions do start progressing with very, very easy ones that call back on the series' knowledge.
Aww.
Who is the pony that despises the holiday season in the old classic, A Hearthwarming Tea?
Play along, guys.
We also do see a little bit of that competitive spirit between the two teams. Mainly Applejack and Rainbow Dash trying to get at each other, and it does manifest in some rather odd ways.
Category is
Category.
apples.
Choke. Now, why would I choke on a question about apples? What was the question again?
You kidding me?
So as the quiz progresses and gets further and further in, we see that Twilight is not too best pleased with her teammate. In fact, she becomes rather obsessed with keeping Pinky away from the bell out of fear that she's going to give wrong answers. And she doesn't give Pinky enough credit, I'm just going to say it now. We see Twilight going back to her sort of isolated way. You can see the bits from where she spent a lot of time by herself creeping back in. She sees it more of a test than as a game. And that really starts to play on her psyche. And pretty much like how I started to dislike Rainbow Dash in last week's episode, this week I really started to dislike Twilight.
Double midnight chocolate fudge with chili pepper frosting. Correct!
I'm not gonna lie, I'd actually like to try that.
I made those cupcakes! Sorry, Pinky, but you were looking at the parade and I didn't want our team to miss out on the point. Guess that makes sense, but...
And she becomes one of the worst kind of players ever. The kind of player that knows the rulebook inside and out, and as soon as anything happens, as soon as any bit of a toe goes out of line, she brings out the book and she's like, right, disqualified. Nope, change that. Nope, can't do that. The worst kind of player ever. But she does that, and it's thanks to her that Cranky actually does get kicked out of the game for a while.
Sunburst's partner is sleeping, and according to Rule
You should have
57.6,
backhanded him.
sleeping at the table is subject to a disqualification.
Well, looky here. That's an actual rule.
So, as well as being a bad friend and a neglectful jerk, Twilight shows her duplicitous side as the questions keep coming, and she's just there being insufferable as all get out. And then the duplicity sets in, that this is actually all part of an elaborate setup.
Oh no!
Yeah, but you're out then,
You
Twilight.
don't have a partner. You won't be able to get your third win.
Substitution.
Actually, since there's another player who has also had his teammate disqualified.
Rule 19.7b, whereby players whose teammates were disqualified may form a new team.
Wow, Twilight, you're a bad friend.
Okay.
I mean, hell, there's nothing to like Twilight about. She even tricks Pinky out of a question that she would have known the answer to. All just so that she can change her teammate to Sunburst. Which, as a rule, is kind of broken. Shouldn't be allowed. In fact, I do need to go through the rules for Trivial Pursuit to find out if that is an actual rule. I doubt it is, because on the front of this box it does say up to for 2 to 36 players. I have never seen a 36 player game of Trivial Pursuit. I would love to see it, and I would love to see it also done in the style of that game from the show, because it does differ slightly. That's more of just a trivia quiz rather than a board game that has a board that you go around and have to get to the centre with pieces of cheese or cake, or whatever you want to call it. I kind of got off track, because this episode did start to lose me. Twilight swapping out Pinky for Sunburst, and getting a taste of her own medicine was kind of cathartic to see, but by that point it had just become tedium.
I was gonna say, would it just come up that the answer sunset shimmer? Wow, they're actually... Like, Muriel and Rainbow Dash are actually smart.
I realize I may have been a little off earlier, but I'm really good at this game.
So slowly we see that Twilight is being treated to the same treatment that she gave Pinky. And at one point, it twigs on. She finally has that moment of clarity where she realizes what she did was wrong. Very, very confusing in the fact that the only reason she learned a lesson was because she too was victimized by what she did, and therefore she didn't really learn a lesson, but was more just subjected to what she had done. But she's learned a lesson, and so she herself goes to remedy this problem and goes to talk to Pinky, who is having none of it.
I knew you wanted to win, but I probably could have helped a little. And even if I couldn't, we still could have had fun. I'm so sorry for not realizing it. I got so obsessed with one thing, I forgot what really mattered. No, that doesn't sound like you at all.
I love that Pinky just kind of puts her hand up and just says, "Stop, I don't believe you. You're just saying this to make me feel better." They do go and sort of retcon it immediately after by saying, "Oh no, it's because I made a cake and I had it changed already." If she was able to change a cake that quickly, then there should be no problem on her changing it back or altering it again. But regardless, it was nice to see that she was at least being a bit more serious and putting her hoof down.
I guess even the Princess of Friendship can mess things up with her friends. Oh, it's not that. It's just that I already changed it to Team Twibers.
Yeah.
Now I guess I should change it to Sundoodle?
Really, there wasn't a lot of conflict and resolution. Actually, no, there was a lot of conflict. Just lackluster and very poor resolution to it. Inasmuch as that Pinky and Twilight rejoined the game under a new rule that was found, which is that any team can rejoin as long as they put their scorecard back to 0. Which defeats the entire purpose of being in a competition, depending on how long it runs, given how far behind they are. And also the fact that Twilight's biggest hang-up was defending her title. That should have been the point of the episode, was that even though she learned a lesson, she still won. But we don't know if she won or not. It can be assumed that given she just threw playing seriously to the wind at the end, that they lost. I mean, it seemed that it seemed at the end Muriel and Rainbow Dash were in the lead. And so I'd like to think that they win because Cranky's Mrs. needs a little bit more time in that spotlight. She needs recognition for something. Muriel is awesome. But it really does end there. Just Twilight and Pinky getting asked the question of what is the most common or the favourite fragrance used at the Ponyville Day Spa. And they both give a different answer that is wrong. And they're like, "Oh well, fade to black." And that kind of just... You can tell by my demeanour. I've got my feet resting on a chair just down here. My arms are crossed. Normally I'd be moving around, I'd be gesturing a bit more, but this episode really was just that's really the only thing you have there. There are a couple laughs here and there. Like, don't get me wrong. That's the episode done. And on the rating score, I probably should always animate this and have like the running tally down the side. I might do that for the season finale and just put them all into perspective, but on my list of 1 to 10 for this episode, this one's actually gonna get a 4. This is going below average just because it really felt like they squandered a perfect opportunity. Like, having a trivia contest is fantastic, and if they made the entire episode about that and then had it more on the fact that it was the main 6 trying to recall everything from the past as they were on different teams, as well as their teammates sort of knowing bits that they didn't. That'd be fantastic. I would love an episode like that made callbacks to all the previous seasons. And the fact that at the end of it, they can all walk away, and the lesson is, it's a competition, but we still walk away as friends, no matter how heated it gets. But it didn't go that way. It just sort of fell flat. Now, don't get me wrong, there were things I did like, such as seeing Maud and Mudbriar holding hooves when they walk in. That is just so wholesome and sweet. Just the fact it's like, yeah, they are a couple. The fact that at the start of the competition, Maud seems happy and smiling about it starting. Maud is kind of a good thing in this episode. The fact that her and Mudbriar come in as the mediators, like, technically it isn't Tyrek, it's Tyrek in this. And I know I harped on Twilight for being that kind of player, but the fact that that was them who hadn't caused any problems and were instead throwing it back, just sort of like, actually, if you're going to do this, then we're going to do it right back, without being malicious like Sunburst was, then I completely am okay with it. Other good things were just the callbacks, the banter between characters, mainly Rainbow Dash and Applejack. It's a decent episode, but it's below average in my opinion. The bad and the bland is the perfect word for it. The bland outweighs the innovative. And the biggest injustice is right at the end. As it's zooming out, we see Derpy seemingly not allowed in. She's there at the door trying to get in, and the door is locked or shut and she can't get in. And I understand there's the thing of, we don't want her talking that much, but you've given her a voice. And I would have loved to have seen a Trivial Pursuit team where it was Derpy and the Doctor. That was the perfect opportunity for you guys to make the best reference, the most wanted reference. And I know you did it in episode 100, but still, the fact that everybody loves Derpy and the Doctor, and it's never confirmed, but it is confirmed, this would have just been the best time. But instead, I can't remember if they put Doctor Who was in the audience or whether he was just on one of the nameless teams. Regardless, him and Derpy should have been a team. But let me know if there was any parts of it that you liked that I took umbrage with, if you thought that things could be done differently. Let me know what you just thought down in the comments below. And as always, make sure that you like the video, share it around with all your friends and other people that might like this. Let's see if we can grow the channel a little bit. I know I always ask, but it'd always be nice to break 200 subscribers. I'm on 184, I think? So breaking 200 would be nice. No pressure, guys. And I promise that the con vlogs will be coming up as well. The bonus reactions are going to be after this. But in regards to the con vlog, it took a while to get the second part on because just things went against me. Real life got in the way. We've had storms here. My house got flooded. Luckily, my office was fine. My living room, however, got absolutely wrecked, and so I had to spend an entire day trying to get that all cleaned up, and then the floor's done, and everything else. So things got delayed a little bit. Regardless, we should be back on track starting from next week with more con vlog going up, and the new episode as well, because this episode is going to be going up later than usual, so more fun to look for. But I've rambled enough, guys. On to the bonus reactions, and until next time, bye-bye.
Nice work.
She's going to be Twilighting hard. Oh, little fist bump. That was kind of cute.
Weird. Then getting that third win.
Wait, do you have a bell?
Good night.
That's the way clappy things.
That.
I actually have Trivial Pursuit. Is there a bell in here? I need to find this now. Forget the intro. We need bells. Whoa, jeez, stacks of cards. There is no bell. I am disappointed. Trivial Pursuit is meant to have a bell. And yet there is no bell. It says it's the master game, but no bell. Disappointing.
Getting in trivia trot. And that wraps up Rule 41.6.
Rather than that, they should be playing Unstable Unicorns.
Is interesting itself because...
Much more fun.
We're here.
You can go back up there.
You know what you're doing now.
Not every team is a
See,
threat.
obviously they couldn't know, but if he was paired with Maud, that would have been predicting the future.
Hold on to your horseshoes, 'cause the next
People that watch other
player
con vlogs will get that one.
So, still think you can win?
To be fair, if there was a bell in that Trivial Pursuit, I would have been doing that with it.
Pinky might not be the partner I expected. Is it Zap Apples?
Finally! Yes, Fluttershy, it is!
Well done, Applejack.
Some pony here knows her apples.
Hey, she has her hat. Oh, God.
No.
Derpy! Oh, she wasn't allowed in. Boo! Derpy should have been on Trivial Pursuit. She should have been on the team. That was an episode.